of phrasal verbs, which are very popular with students, but we're also going to talk about personality traits, which is extremely exciting because everyone wants to learn the best vocabulary to speak about people, to speak about different personalities, right? Different character traits, right? And using native language, right? Because everyone knows smart, intelligent, nice. But the words that I'm going to teach you today are, more advanced, and they're the ones that you don't get in the traditional textbooks, right? So this is why it's important to follow, right? Sign up for the program, join our community, right? The new English.us program. Learn own teacher, always here to help you, always here to support you. All right, let's welcome everyone who is in the chat. Carmen Maria, welcome. Sanya, welcome. Majorginho, sea bem-vindo. Sea bem-vindo. Welcome to our friends on Instagram. If you are here, right, this is your invitation to join the community. I say it every single time, but you get exclusive content, weekly challenges, a great community, people from all around the world, right? We have a speaking club, Zoom lessons, direct access to me. It's a great way to learn. And a lot of the content there is not available to the public. So if you want to join, here is the QR code. Join with this QR code, or just send me a message and I can give you the link, right? It's free to join. It's free, and it's really worth it. All right. It definitely is worth it. So don't wait any longer. Join with this QR code here and take your English to the next level. Hi, Lil. Welcome. Welcome, everyone, to class. Happy to see you guys here. So we're talking about personality traits. So what is a trait? What is a trait? So a trait is, a characteristic, a feature, an attribute, something that describes you. So, question for you guys. If you could describe yourself using 3 traits, what would those traits be? Hi, Bartosz. Welcome. Welcome, Bartek. Yes. So traits, well, no, so it's not trending. That's different. These are traits, personality traits. Right. So how would you describe your personality using 3 traits, using 3 adjectives? Right. So, for example, me, I would say I'm very loyal, trustworthy, stable, like kind, friendly, open, right, supportive, right? All of these are traits. I'm supportive. I'm a teacher, so I support my students. I support you on your journey to success. Uva, welcome, Uva. Sandy is here. Iskender. Now, Primo Luis. How are you guys doing? Welcome to class. We're learning to describe personality traits. Right, so it's a great class, guys. So describe give me 3 traits that describe you. So we have common is reliable, honest, ambitious. Great. Right, you're reliable. We're going to go through a lot of these, but you're reliable. That means people can count on you. Right, it's connected to honest, because if you're honest, many times you are reliable. Right, people trust honest people, right? So if you're honest, people will trust you, therefore you will be reliable. Ambitious, that's another one. Great. If you have big dreams, you are ambitious. Okay, so don't be shy. Write some of the adjectives, some of the attributes, some of the traits that describe you. All right, so here, look at this lady. She is a power woman, right? A power woman. So here, do you say she comes across or she goes across as confident? Meaning, when you see her, you think she's confident. Do you say she comes across or she goes across as confident and assertive? She's a power woman. She is the CEO of the company. Right? So you need to be confident and you need to be assertive. Assertive means that you assert yourself, right? And if you assert yourself, then you know you have authority, right? You're almost like forceful. You have authority. You're authoritative. You're decisive. You say, this is what we're going to do, and no questions asked. Okay. Oh, let's see. So sorry about that. We need to. I didn't turn on the poll. You can put the poll here. So very nice. Optimistic. I see some great traits. So Maria is optimistic. A little naive. Okay. So check the spelling of naive. Right. Well, that's okay. I mean, you're innocent, right? You can turn it around. Instead of saying, "Oh, I'm naive," I'm innocent. That sounds better. All right, fantastic. Great, great. How is everyone doing? Amazing, amazing, guys. We're live on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Instagram. So that's great. Devoted, stubborn, introverted. So an unintrovert and introverted. All right. So the poll is there, guys. The poll is already there. Vote and get your points. Everyone earned a point. She comes across. She comes across as. Try to use this, guys. If you're in the chat, if you are in class, right? If you're on Vimeo and you're in class, if you're part of the community, then I want to see your sentences. If you're on social media, you can also do it, right? You can also, but for participation, the best thing is to join the community because literally the chat is right next to my feed. So it's much easier to see it and to respond. But of course, I jump around the different tabs and I, you know, try to respond to everyone. But she comes across. If you come across, so visualize it. To come, right? Someone comes, you come across. You cross is like you go to the other side. So you come across, meaning you, I see you as, you present yourself as. So with this lady, right, she comes across as confident and assertive, right? She comes across as a power woman, but deep down, meaning if you really you analyze her you know her core, she's quite sensitive, right? So it's almost like she's playing a part, and sometimes you do have to play a part when you play these big corporate games. Mm. So I also come across as an ambitious person. Well, yes, I'll take that as a compliment. That is a great compliment. Yeah, I am ambitious. I am ambitious. I do have dreams, right? And I'm quite hardworking as well. So I'm working to make my dreams come true, to accomplish my goals. So, what do you how do you come across? Right? How do you come across? That's a great way to ask. Or you can talk about someone, right? He comes across as stubborn, right? Someone can come across as, let's see, mm, as honest. They come across as honest, right? But sometimes, especially if they're car salesmen, they want to come across as honest, but sometimes they're not. Well, that's why you got to be careful. You got to be careful with people who try to come across as honest, right? Sometimes it's, the people who are the most honest are the ones who are not trying so hard to be, right? So let's continue with more personality traits. So here you have a little boy and his dad, right? So the boy, he adores his dad, right? He admires his dad. Do you say he watches up to his dad? He gets up to his dad? He looks up to his dad? Or he makes up to his dad? This verb means literally, to admire, to, to love someone, but love them not with admiration. You want to be like them. Mm. So Maria, I come across as. So don't forget the as. I come across as assertive or as an assertive person. You can say that as well. I come across as an assertive person. That works. That works extremely well. All right, so let's see. So here, the good thing with this is that we can go to the board right here. So we're going to put a sentence up here, a very good sentence from one of the the classmates, and we will share it with everyone, right? So that we can learn together. All right, so hopefully people can see this. Well, let's see. Let's see if we can make this. Yeah, it might be hard for the guys on Instagram because they're. But let's see. Maybe this will work. Maybe this will work. Oh no, actually, that's going to be complicated. That's going to be a bit complicated to put it all together. But anyway, so yeah, if you're watching this, sorry you can't see all of it, but maybe that'll work. Maybe that'll work right there. All right, so I come across as, we got to put as, I come across as an outgoing person. All right, I come across as an outgoing person. Maricruz, 3 Driu Uk. All right, guys. So that's all right. So here, this is the board. All right, I'm trying to make it visible for everyone. So you got to put, but I'm actually quite introverted. Good. Good sentence. Any other sentences here? You're so good. So here, another one, another great sentence from the chat. Let's type it here. Let's put it in here. So you come across as an ambitious person, David. Yes, thank you. Come across as. So when you're talking about people, and you say, "Oh, he seems to be," he gives the impression of being. You can also say he comes across as. It's a great native speakers. We use it all the time, guys. It's a great sentence. Any other sentences here? All right, guys, that's all. That is all. So fantastic. Fantastic. Let's go back to this. So this one is to look up to. Right? So who do you look up to? So who in the chat, who do you look up to? Who do you admire? Hello, Joe. Hello, Eriberinsta. Welcome. Who do you admire? Who do you look up to? So the boy in the picture, he looks up to his dad. Most boys do. Right? Do you look up to maybe a celebrity? Right? People love their celebrities. Do you look up to maybe a writer, a historic figure? There's a lot of people from the past, a lot of great people. Who do you look up to? Right? I look up to my dad. I look up to my brother, both my brothers. I have two brothers. I actually look up to my mom. I look up to everyone in my family, my sisters. Everyone is amazing, right? I look up to the saints in history, right? I look up to them, right? They did great things, right? Look up to the to some of the great writers, Victor Hugo, right? I look up to him, right? So who do you look up to? The boy looks up to his dad. You don't look up to anybody. Okay, so remember there. So, but it's not bad to look up. A lot of people feel bad. A lot of people think that looking up to somebody else is a bad thing, right? It means that they're better than you. They're not. If you look up to someone, it doesn't mean they're better than you guys, right? It doesn't mean they're better, right? You can admire someone. It's not bad to admire someone. It's normal, right? It's good to admire people. So here, what do we have? What do we have? So I don't look up to anybody, right? Because here it's one negative. So we got to make sure that we have only one negative here. So this is the negative. Oops, where is it? Highlighter. So this is the negative. So we can't have two negatives. So I don't look up to anybody. But I respect what some people were able to achieve. Well, that's looking up to them, right? That's looking up to them in a way, right? That's what any other ones, right? Sonia, that's a great comment. You get 5 points for this comment because it's a great comment, as a matter of fact. As a matter of fact, this is a great comment from Sonia. So, what did Sonia say here, guys? Let's check this. She says, I look up to you, David. I would like to have that kind of energy you have. Good. Wow, thank you. So I also would like, so here's I also would like to be able to speak English like you. Thank you. Well, you will. You're part of the community. So you just keep working hard and your dreams will come true. Your dreams will come true. So I look up to you, David. Thank you very much. I would like to have that kind of energy you have. Good. Yes. Well, it's a great gift, right? I have that kind of energy because I love what I do, right? And people inspire me, and I love people. That's the thing. People ask me, "Hey, what's your secret?" I love people. I love everyone, right? When you love everyone, right, and you genuinely, are interested in others and generally want to help others, the doors, all doors open up. Right? You have a lot of energy. You're excited about life. So, I'm just excited about life. That's all it is, guys. But thank you very much for those. So here, another one, despite. Despite. Right. So what does despite mean? Despite. Okay. So despite is one of these words, right? It is a preposition and it means without being affected by. Kind of like, you know, notwithstanding. You can say also in spite of. Right? So when something is not affected by something else, you use despite. So I love her despite her faults. Despite the setbacks, they never lost hope. She smiled brightly despite being exhausted. Right? Despite the late hour, they decided to go for a walk. Despite the challenges, they never lost hope. Right? So despite the late hour, they decided to go for a walk. So they decided to go for a walk, right, without regards to or without being affected by the late hour. Right? So it was late, but they didn't care. They didn't care. They still went out for a walk. We had a great time despite the bad weather. So you can use despite at the beginning of the sentence or also in the middle of the sentence. All right, fantastic. So despite. So we're going to use despite right now. I've always looked up to people who are humble despite their success. Right? And this is very interesting. I love this idea because most people who are successful lose their humility, right? So they lose their humility. They're a lot, not everyone, of course. There's a lot of people, and I look up to people who maintain a sense of humility or who remain humble despite their success. So, question for you guys right here. Do you know, or do you think it's easy to stay humble uh, despite being successful? Yes or no? All right, so despite. Do you think, right? This is a yes or no question. Is it easy to stay humble? Is it easy to, right, to stay, to be down to earth? I really like that expression. Down to earth, as the word indicates, you're down to earth, you're real. Despite being successful, despite your success. So this guy right here, right, he's an example, right? He is humble despite his success. Right, look at him. He's just sitting, he's just chilling there. And he says hello to everyone. He doesn't boast, right? He doesn't show off, right? And he's a billionaire. Right? He is a billionaire. But he's real. Right? He's humble. Yeah, he eats at normal restaurants. He says hello to everyone. He doesn't talk down to anyone, right? Which is, it's noteworthy. It's definitely noteworthy, right? So, most people said yes. Wow, I'm surprised by that answer. Most people in class, 75% of everyone in class, well, everyone who voted, some people didn't vote, but in the poll, 75% of you believe it's easy to stay humble despite being successful. I don't think it's easy. It's possible, but I have to disagree. I have to disagree with you guys. Now don't worry. I'm not angry, right? We can disagree and still have a good relationship. People don't understand that. People think that if you disagree with someone, it means you hate them. That's not true. I love you guys, but I need to be honest. And what I've seen, and I know a lot of successful people. I work with a lot of successful people. Right? I do a lot of coaching and, you know, very successful. Like I don't, I can't share who I work with, but a lot of them are big people, big people in the business world, in the political world, in different sectors, in the intellectual world, in the academic world. I work with a lot of people, and they're very successful. And it's not easy to be humble when you're extremely successful. Right? It gets to your head. It really does get to your head. Now, everyone says, I'm different. When I become a billionaire, I will be so humble. I will be like, okay, guys, you know, I'm a billionaire, but I'm I'm just like you guys. I'm so normal. Don't don't tell me how great I am. Now, maybe you might be the exception, but the data speaks for itself. The data shows that most people who become extremely successful, you know, become, they can become arrogant. So, but yeah, right. It depends on their confidence, of course, right? Yes and no, different people, right? It also depends on how quickly did they achieve their success. Right? People who became successful gradually, they get used to it. Right? People who became very wealthy or very successful, very quickly, it's much harder for them. Right? It just hits you. It just hits you like a train. Right? You're just a normal person, you know, and all of a sudden, bam, you're a superstar, and everyone wants to meet you, and you're everyone's talking about you, and you're swimming in cash, and the whole world is kissing your feet. Like that's not an easy thing. That's not an easy thing. People think it's easy, but it's not easy. So then all of a sudden you're like, ooh, look at all this power. Look at all this influence. Right. And human beings are generally not very good with power. That's why they train people. I mean the dynasties, the royal families, understood power, and they understood the downfalls, and they understood. So a lot of the training for all the princes, when they trained the princes, when they trained the future rulers, a lot of the training was about teaching them the rules of power, right? How to maintain power, how to not fall into the traps of power. That's very, very important right there, right? But most people are never trained. Most people don't know how to manage this. So he was brought up or was bringed up to be polite. So to bring up, right, or to be. So your parents, if you have kids, you are bringing up your kids right now. So parents bring up their kids, bring up. But here it's in the passive because he didn't bring himself up. His parents brought. Well, I just gave you the answer. But anyway, here. So I think everyone answered it. I gave you a few seconds. So parents bring up their kids. And if you want to talk about that he grew up, right, or his parents taught him to be polite, instead of they taught him to be polite, you could say he was brought up to be polite and respectful. Right? Great parents. Look at this guy right here. Great guy. Right? Now, bringing up children is not easy. Right? Bringing up polite and respectful children is not easy because we live in this era. I keep talking to you about it. The tyranny of the child. That's I always find that term very, very funny, right? But it is kind of true, right? A lot of modern parents are like, no, no, no. Freedom. We need to let the kids do whatever they want. Kids need to do whatever they want. We need to show them that they are the masters of the universe, right? That's the secret to their success, is giving kids all the freedom they want, giving them all the power they desire, right? That's what, millennial parents believe, right? Knowingly or unknowingly, that's what they believe. And, what's the effect of that? Well, the effect is that people grow up, right, without a sense of discipline, of politeness, right, or even of humility as well. Going back to the idea of humility. So he was brought up. Okay, so bringed doesn't exist. It's not a regular verb. So bring, brought, brought. That's the conjugation of the verb to bring. To bring. To bring up is the phrasal verb, which means to raise. So, but I was brought up. I was brought up to be polite and respectful and disciplined. How were you brought up? Use this. When you use it, when you internalize the vocabulary, then you make it your own. That's why I tell my students, don't just read the sentence and be like, oh, okay, he was brought up to be respectful. Okay, I understand what it means. Use it in your own context. I was brought up to be. I was brought up to be disciplined. I was brought up to be kind. I was brought up to be humble. I was brought up to be resilient. We're going to talk about that later. Sonia says some people don't have to be successful to be arrogant. That's true. That's a good point. Some people are arrogant and they're not even successful, which makes you wonder. Little Lord Fauntleroy. Ooh, okay. I never, what kind of movie is that? Little Lord Fauntleroy, or Fauntleroy, maybe a French name. Right. That's very, very, very interesting. So I see a lot of sentences. I could the chat is going crazy. So I like that, right? Because I just can't read every single comment. Despite my headache, I'm in class. Sorry, you have a headache, right? Despite losing a huge amount of money, he continues to gamble and lose his fortune. Ooh, that's not good. He needs to learn his lesson. He needs to learn his lesson. Old but gold. Okay. Right. Today, parents are working more than before. and they don't have time for kids. That's also true, Irena. Good point. Good point. We got some smart people in the community. I mean, I'm so impressed by these people in the community. You know, they give me so many good ideas. Right? It's true. Right? Right? Too much work, too much stress. You can also say upbringing. Yeah, his upbringing was hard, or he had a difficult upbringing. You can say that as well. I was brought up to show respect for elderly people. That is good. We need more people like you, Common. We need more people in the world to be like you. We need to bring up our kids. We need to raise our kids with those values. So he was brought up to be polite and respectful, which shows in his thoughtful behavior. Right? Thoughtful behavior. You think about others. Here, right? So this one is interesting. Okay, this one is interesting. So hard work, right? Hard work at the gym. In this case, is at the gym. So he works very hard. He works hard on in the gym, but he also works hard at home, right? With his diet, with his schedule. Do you say hard work pays on? Hard work pays off. Hard work pays in. Hard work pays to. Right? This means you will get the benefits of hard work. If you work hard, sooner or later, you will see the results. You'll get paid, whether it's with money or with something else. So pay in this context doesn't mean literally money. This is a phrasal verb. It's pay and then a preposition, which means that you'll see the results, right? Yes, it can lead to injuries. That's why you need to be careful, Common. Okay, so don't go crazy in the gym. Make sure you follow a program that's suitable for you. All right. So this guy he's probably been training for more than 10 years, right? So he knows how to train. So therefore, he can push his limits. If you don't know how to train, be careful, right? So hard work pays off, guys. Hard work pays off. Although she can be a bit stubborn at times. So stubborn, a lot of people in the chat said they're stubborn. We have a lot of stubborn people. And it's okay, right? It's okay to be stubborn, right? Now, it's just a character trait. You can work on it. If you are stubborn, then, maybe you can work on it. You can learn to be, these character traits are not permanent. That's what people don't understand. Right? You can work on yourself. Although she can be a bit stubborn at times, her determination usually pays off. Right? Again, she's a successful woman. A lot of successful women nowadays, right? And a lot of successful people in general, many times they can be stubborn. Right? It's like my way or the highway. Right? That's the that's the consensus, right? A lot of these people, they're very successful, so therefore they think they know everything, and they can be stubborn, right? But your determination, right? If you're determined, that's a character trait. If you're determined, you say, this is what I want, and I'm going to get it. So your determination, whatever endeavor you pursue, right, your determination will pay off. Right? I hope it does. It doesn't always, but many times it does. right? More often than not, your determination will pay off. So although she can be a bit stubborn at times means sometimes, right? But you can say instead of sometimes, you can say at times, her determination usually pays off. Stubbornness, right? You can create stubborn is the adjective, stubbornness is the noun. Very good. Okay, so a lot of people are writing in the chat. Yeah, of course. I mean, stubborn. I would say I would agree with you. Stubborn is not a. It's a. It's typically considered a negative trait, right? But in some contexts, because a lot of stubborn people are also very determined people, right? So some those are character traits that are parallel. Right? So if you're stubborn, many times you are also very determined, so that the your determination will pay off, right? But your stubbornness might hinder your relationships, right? It might negatively affect your relationships, right? So yeah, that a lot of these things, when you really study people, when you really understand people, understand psychology, you see that a lot of these traits, they spill into each other. So you can have someone who's very determined, right? They get what they want, and that's a great thing. They're very ambitious. You know, they they get what they want. They're very determined, very resilient, very hardworking, right? But then that same spirit, those same traits manifest in other contexts and other situations as negative traits. And that's part of the game, right? That's part of the game. People are not perfect, right? So everyone, that's why, understanding people is one of the best things that you can do, right? If you understand people, you understand the world is made up of people. Your success will be determined by the people that you come into contact with. Right? So this one, right? Don't oh, all right, so this one. All right. So this guy, he was under a lot of stress, right? A lot of stress, right, with inflation, with work, with his, all of these things. So when you when you have a panic attack, let's say you have a panic attack, or the stress is too much, right? And you have a meltdown. Do you say crack under pressure, break under pressure, slip under pressure, or fail under pressure? So vote A, B, C, or D. And this means, right, this means that, let's say you're under a lot of stress, a lot of pressure from work, from family, right? So you break down, right? You collapse, you cave in, you fall apart, you yield, right? You lose control, you freak out, right? This is what it means, right? So a lot of people, what we're talking about right now, a lot of very successful people, it's not about, sometimes it's not about what people know, it's about the stress that they can take, right? A lot of people who are in diplomacy, right, or work in government and big multi-billion-dollar corporations, mm, they need to be able to handle stress. They need to be able to control themselves, right? They can't crack under pressure. When you crack under pressure, it just means you have a meltdown, right? You collapse, like you're done, right? The stress was too much, right? You lost control. Now, you don't want to lose control, right? That's one of the keys. You don't want to crack under pressure. And this is what this is what experience teaches you, right? That's why you don't put a 21-year-old, at the head of a multi-billion-dollar organization because he'll probably crack under pressure. And that's why, leaders, they need to learn to to stay composed, right? These are psychological tricks, right? And so this guy, he cracked under pressure, right? He had to take a few weeks off. He had to go to see his doctor, right? Too much pressure, too much stress. He cracked under pressure. So we all thought he would crack under pressure, but he got out, he turned out, he made out to be incredibly resilient, right? So let's break this down right here. Okay, if you're in the chat, vote for the correct verb. So we're talking about mental resilience. When you are resilient, you're strong, right? You're tough, you're strong, you're durable, right? Meaning you recover quickly, right? You can withstand adversity, right? So let's say again, right, this mental toughness. Like I know we're going back to this idea of of kids, right, and parenting. Now, what I realized when I was teaching, and I've taught more than 20,000 hours on four different continents, or maybe five if you consider the Middle East its own continent. It's Asia, but it's kind of its own little world. So, four or five different continents, nine different countries, in all levels, from kindergarten to university level, actually to adults. I've taught everyone, all ages, and I'm very, very thankful to have had that experience because I learned so much. And one trait that is missing with a large part of the population is resilience. And I think we baby our kids, we baby you know our students, that society babies everyone, like, oh, hey, oh, don't worry, oh, it's if this test is so difficult for you, we will make it easy for you, okay? Right? They're like, oh, no, 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 this test is too long, it's too difficult, students are gonna get a headache because they think too much, right? We need to, and no, we need to give everyone a trophy, right? Everyone gets a trophy. Everyone is a champion, all right? Um, so resilience, right, is not really taught. Right? My grandparents, right, during World War II, they were resilient. Right? They were resilient. They were born in the 1930s in the time of the Great Depression. That's resilience right there. Right? They had to, my grandma had to move across the country, right, across the Dust Bowl, across the Dust Bowl. Imagine that during the Great Depression. Right? She lived through World War II. My grandpa fought in World War. He didn't fight actually, but he served World War II. Right, in the Pacific. They were resilient. Right now, are we resilient? Now, are we tough? You tell me. You tell me if you think we are the toughest generation ever. You tell me. Hello, Untitled. How are you, Untitled? Welcome to class. So, we all thought he would crack under pressure, but he turned out to be incredibly resilient, meaning in the end, he didn't crack under pressure. In the end, we realized he was resilient. He was tough. He was strong. He didn't collapse. He didn't crack under pressure. I try to get along with everyone. You get along, or you get on if you're British. I try to get along with everyone. But I struggle with people who are superly critical, overly critical, greaterly critical, or morally critical. Right? So it means too critical. So look at this girl right here. Well, she's not a girl, she's a woman, right? She's critical. She's critical, right? She's like, hey, you know, this is bad. This is bad. Step up to the plate. Not good enough. Right? She's very, very critical. She's too critical. She's overly critical. So I try to get along with everyone. I really do. But I struggle with, meaning I have problems with. I struggle with people who are overly critical. And that's true. What's the point of being so critical? Right? Does that help? Right? Now, it's good to be honest. It's good to be constructive. I'm not saying don't give any feedback. And sometimes you do need to be honest. You can't say, again, we need to find the balance. All right. One extreme is like, oh, everyone's a champion. Right? You can't criticize, you can't give any critical feedback because people will get offended. I'm not talking about that. Right? I'm saying we need to be diplomatic. We need to be able to build people up, give them feedback, and you know, but not in a way that will, you know, that will break them down too much. Right? But at the same time, people need to be resilient, right? So the correct answer is overly. So this one, this girl, well, I say girl, this woman says having dealing or have dealing, had dealed, had dealing, or having dealt with difficult clients for years. She's developed a calm and diplomatic personality. Right? So, right, this woman, right, she had a lot of difficult clients, which is normal. Some clients are easy, they're nice to work with. Some clients are difficult, right? So, but what those difficult clients taught her, right? What the benefits of having, you know, dealt with so many clients for years, right? Is that she's developed a calm and diplomatic personality, right? So remember, all these hardships, all of these challenges, they do bear fruit, right? If you have, difficult clients, if you have difficult coworkers or difficult boss, right? You are building yourself up. You are working on your character, right? So you do develop a very, very strong, you know, resilient, but also a calm and diplomatic personality. Right? It's hard to be diplomatic when you're under fire, right? But if you work on it, if you work on your composure, if you work on you know, your mental resilience, then, you know, you can, the end result is that you will have developed a calm and diplomatic personality. So we're coming to the end. He tends to gobble up his emotions, shake up his emotions, close up his emotions, or bottle up his emotions. Meaning, right, look at this guy, right? He doesn't show his emotions, right? Which I get it, it's men, we're not designed biologically to be so connected to our emotions, but we also need to open up sometimes, right? We also need to open up, right? And we need to be honest, and we need to be, emotionally available, right? But this guy, with his girlfriend, but actually with everyone, know, he tends to shut down emotionally. So shut down emotionally. Do you say gobble up his emotions, shake up his emotions, close up his emotions, or bottle up his emotions? The correct answer is bottle up his emotions, which can make him seem distant or aloof, right? That's distant, aloof. She has always stood out or stood up for her creativity and quirky sense of humor, meaning she was always different. By this one, you only get 5 seconds for this one because this one's easy for you guys. Right? She's very creative. Right? She has a quirky sense of humor. It's very unique, very different sense of humor. And she always was different. She always stood out. She always stood out. So stand out. We talked about it last week. You stand out. You're different. You are highlighted. You stand out. So here, if you open up to him, you'll see he's not cold. He's just introverted and a bit shy around new people. It's a great sentence, right? Because a lot of people think that shy or introverted people are cold. They're not, right? Just because someone is not warm and just so open and so friendly doesn't mean they're cold. It just means they're a bit shy around new people, right? So sometimes you need to open up to people. If someone seems cold, they might not be cold. They might just be a bit introverted and a bit shy. Okay? So, open up to people, right? Don't be scared. Right? Try to understand people. This is what we talked about today. It was a lesson about personality, about traits, about what makes people unique. Okay, so guys, if you want to join the community where you get exclusive content like this, it's not available on the internet. Weekly challenges, community speaking club. If you want to practice your speaking, if you want to join the Zoom lessons where you get to discuss, amazing topics. You get corrections, you get to practice your speaking. Then use this QR code to join the community. This QR code will give you the link. You can join the group and connect with our community, connect with me, and take advantage of all the benefits that my community offers. Okay, it's a great community, guys. Join it today. Okay, thank you, guys. Right, have a great evening. Thank you for your support, Maria, Sonia, Carmen, Irena. Right, everyone. Okay, right here. Ratty, Yipsy, Batush, Fidan, Andriug, Ali, Yeskanti, Herrera. Thank you guys for your support. Have a great night, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye bye, guys.